At 17, I have the Las Vegas Raiders. Just barely on the outside looking into the top half is the Raiders. After successfully purging McDaniels from their presence and cleansing the locker room with Crosby approved cigar smoke, the Raiders looked good at the end of last year, and they were the last team to beat the Chiefs. Specifically the defense, go figure. Fortunately, after a very literal threat from Crosby that he would want to be traded if they did not bring back Antonio Pierce, Mark Davis made the right decision this time and actually hired the man. Now, Luke Getsy's a questionable hire because after watching the Bears the past 2 seasons, people aren't sure if he's going to be the offensive coordinator. Um, and it may be that he might need a QB like Aiden O'Connell, who's now the presumed starter after Garoppolo's suspension. So we'll see if Aiden O'Connell's the guy he wants to work with. Now they may be in the position, and they may want to draft a QB like Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., someone in that ballpark. But regardless, it'll be a building year, and hopefully they'll now be stable, because that defense was looking good at the end of the season. If the offense just starts picking up, you're looking at a winning team, maybe even B plus, and could possibly sneak into the wild card round. But they have a tough division champion to beat. At 16 and 15, I have the Indianapolis Colts and the Minnesota Vikings. Now, we're in the top half of the way too early power rankings. This is weird, and I have both of these teams in this for the same reason. The QB is a question mark. Anthony Richardson seemed good at the beginning of the season, but then he eventually got injured, and Kirk Cousins is in the need of a new contract. The hitch with Kirk is there is a lot of money that also needs to eventually go Justin Jefferson's way that they have to think about. Um, and there's already rumors of the disputes going on with that. And if either one goes, then they'll be around here. But if Kirk and Justin stay, then I think they'll be around 15, if not punching a little bit higher. The Colts almost made it to the playoffs with the roster around Gardner Minshew, and that's an achievement. Now, with Anthony Richardson, they could pop off if Richardson is anything what he was looking at and can stay healthy. And if Kirk or Justin leaves Minnesota, then they're at 16. If Anthony Richardson doesn't have a good year, gets injured again, then it's going to be the down to 16 for them. At 14, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, much like the Vikings, this placement relies entirely on two things: Mike Evans staying, which is looking less and less likely, and Baker Mayfield staying. Now, Mike Evans is a Hall of Famer in the making, in my eyes, with what he's done to wide receiver. Baker looks like he wants to stay and is capable of doing what the franchise needs to win again. If Baker gets taken by another team with a better deal, then they may be in trouble. If Mike Evans decides to leave to try and get his hands on another ring before he's outside of his best years, and another year, another run, may take another year or two to build around with Baker. If the Buccaneers stay together, I have full faith that they can win this division again, and maybe even the divisional round this time as well. But we will have to see how the Mike Evans situation shakes out. At 13, the New York Jets. Now, I understand we've all been waiting to get to this point. I know some of you, even Jets fans here, are like, why are we this low? Two names: Nathaniel Hackett. My opinion is if he's the offensive coordinator, it hurts the team as a whole. He can stay on to appease Captain Ayahuasca, but I don't think he should be running the offense. I think that fixing the O line should also be a necessity that has to happen, or we end up with the same situation of Rodgers being banged up because he gets hit almost every play. I believe that Joe Douglas can make the moves, but after that article that came out in The Athletic, I'm doubting the preparation ability of Hackett specifically, and that will cause our offense to be exactly the same as it was this past year, even if his favorite QB is running the thing. So we can hope that everything will be good and that our defense will hold up for this coming year. And we hope these next 2 years are going to be good. We need a deep run. But based on the organizational time and the synergy that has to go into making the offense probably click as well as it should, and if the other receivers aside from Garrett Wilson can make plays, then we'll be better than 13. But I have us here compared to everybody else around us. At number 12, the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, the Cowboys. And I know everybody's going to ask, why are they here? They choked. And agreed, they did. Um, but they did win 12 games in the regular season, and not a lot of teams won more than 10. There was 9 to be exact that had more than 10 wins. But after watching the Cowboys growing up, there was one thing that I learned about Jerry Jones is if he sees you can win, then he'll keep you. The only big name that I think is a dire threat to lose his job is Mike McCarthy. Beyond that, I see Jerry keeping Dak, CD, and Micah as long as they can agree on contract money down the road. If they don't make a deep run of it this year, though, they are here. Even they'll keep them even if they don't make a deep run of it this year. But I have them here because I have a feeling they will still make the playoffs. But until we see it, we can't trust them playing in January. At number 11, we have the Cleveland Browns. This team is I feel like saying is like pitching with a polished turd from Mythbusters because it's beautiful, it works like a ball, but man, it can get ugly sometimes, and especially if it makes contact with any sort of problem. So the Browns are sitting on a top 10 defense for maybe the next year or two. But Watson's contract will bite them in the ass to keep playmakers down the line. And you have to question whether or not that's even worth it to keep him with how he's been playing since he got there. It hasn't been the best. It took Flacco redlining his elite meter to get the battered Browns to the playoffs. Then they went to Houston. That turd ball exploded. And now, honestly, I feel like Watson needs to have another Pro Bowl worthy year at minimum to make it seem worth it. But if the Browns stay healthy and Watson can play at a B-ish like level play with Amari Cooper and Nick Chubb behind him, then they can win and make it in. Once they get to that point, we will have to see. But I have them at 11.